click the record button. All right, hello everyone. This is the Rails Online Roundtable e-content options for schools. The last time we offered this event, I believe was a couple of years ago, but we're really excited to offer it again because some of these products are changing. Some of the things that Rails can offer you are changing. And I think this has been a popular event in the past, and I'm really excited to hearing more today. So let's take a quick look at our agenda. So our agenda is pretty easy today. So I'll do a quick update on some things that are happening around Rails, specifically that school libraries should know about. And after that, I'll hand it over to my colleague, Anna Behm. We should have plenty of time to do Q&A, and then we'll come back after the Q&A and we'll do a conclusion and wrap up. So just a couple notes, we are recording today, and this presentation will be available on the Rails YouTube page. That will probably be available on Thursday. Everyone who signed up today will receive a link to that video. I've muted everybody on entry. I appreciate if you keep yourself muted until we get to the Q&A portion. And if you do have a question for Anna, I'm happy to allow you to unmute yourself. You can do it one of two ways. You can raise your hand and I'll call on you to unmute yourself. You can also post the question in chat and I'll read it out loud for Anna and she can answer it that way. I am going to keep myself on video, and I think Anna will as well. For participants, you feel free to keep yourself off of video if you don't want to. It's not a requirement here. Okay, just a couple things that are going on around Rails. So the Illinois School Library Workers Symposium is a brand new event that we are hosting. It is Wednesday, September 20th. This is a one-day online training event, and it's co-hosted by ILE, ILA, IHLS, the Illinois State Library, and Rails. We're really excited about it. This is mostly for folks who have not had any formal library training in the past. So if you do not have if you're not licensed, if you do not have a library endorsement, if you do not have an MLIS or MLS, those are the folks that we're looking for. If you do have one of those things, you can still apply, but we're giving preference to folks, again, who have not had formal library training. PDH credits will be available for this event, and the deadline is actually next week, the deadline to apply, August 30th, and then we'll be notifying people of their selection by Friday, September 8th. The next update is also from a group of library support organizations. So again, ILA, IL, Rails, and IHLS are working together to create regional teams to help with book bans. These volunteer-led teams will be available as a resource for libraries experiencing a challenge, and that can be in a number of ways. That includes letter writing to governing bodies, attending board meetings, connecting with library staff, with a library staff member experiencing a material challenge, consultation, moral support, research, specific information resources around a book or material or a challenge book or resource. So we definitely need school library volunteers for this. If you're interested, there's an email address that you can contact. It's rrteam@ila.org. So reach out to them if you're interested. Finally, this is kind of a standing thing, but at Rails, we have a campaign to help people find out about the value of libraries, and it's called the My Library Is campaign. If you go to mylibraryis.org, you can find a lot more resources, a lot more information. But one of the activities that we do in this campaign is to recruit people to write blog posts. These are stories, blog posts are stories about successful programs, events, resources that you offer that are making a difference. And we collect these stories mostly so that we can pass them along to stakeholders, again, to demonstrate the value of libraries. If you would like to write a short blog post, typically they're under 500 words, you could email us communications@railslibraries.org. And there's even a way that you could actually call and leave a voicemail. If you email us, we can send you more information about that. Okay, so now with those updates out of the way, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Anna Behm. Anna is our e-content specialist at Rails. She's our expert in all things e-books, audiobooks, and e-resources in libraries. So I need to give you permission to share your screen. Thank you. Okay, there you go, Anna.
Okay. All right, can you all see my e-content options for schools screen?
Looks great. Looks great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dan. Sorry, let me get all of these other windows minimize. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you so much, Dan. Like Dan said, my name is Anna Behm. I am the e-content specialist at Rails. And I wanted to do this roundtable on e-content options and resources for schools, because we did the first one of these back in August of 2020, when lots and lots of schools were looking into remote or hybrid learning options and resources. And so we had a roundtable back then, and a lot has changed since then when it comes to Rails's e-content offerings. And I thought it would be a good idea to kind of update that presentation, give you some new information, as well as provide you with the opportunity to ask questions. So I'm going to talk specifically about two services that we provide access to. The first one is eRead Illinois, or eRead Illinois Access 360. And the second one is something called Inky.org, and the Inky.org library, which we previously referred to as BiblioBoard, or the BiblioBoard library. So for both of these, I'm going to address some basics of what they are, as well as some of the frequently asked questions that I get specifically from schools. And then I will give you the opportunity to ask me more questions. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, like I said, is eRead Illinois, and sort of the biggest, broadest question: what is eRead Illinois? The most basic answer is that it is a shared e-content collection. It is over 66,000 ebooks and audiobooks that are available. Libraries can opt in to join this shared collection, and membership does include all types of libraries that Rails serves. So we have nearly 300 public libraries that are a part of eRead Illinois. We have 572 school library buildings, individual school buildings, that are a part of eRead Illinois. And then 34 academic and special libraries also belong to the shared collection. It started off as a grant-funded project in 2013, so we are celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year. And now eRead Illinois is sustained by membership fees. So there is a fee to join eRead Illinois, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Broadly, the collection itself is generally a popular materials collection. We do all the collection development here at Rails, and we really focus on providing sort of in-demand items, bestsellers, additional copies of popular titles, etc. So I want to dive a little bit more into the content, because this is something that we have worked on a lot over the last 3 years. And I really want to highlight some of the changes that we've made that specifically apply to school libraries and to students. So like I mentioned in the previous slide, we serve libraries of all types, so public, academic, special, and school libraries, which means that we purchase titles with all users in mind, so children all the way up through adult. Within the last 3 years, we saw a large influx of school libraries join eRead Illinois during the pandemic. And so we have been increasing the K through 12 content that we purchase for the collection. It really kicked off in 2021. We did receive a grant from the state library for $125,000 specifically to purchase more content for students, for school-aged readers. And we've sort of continued that tradition of purchasing, additional content for students every year. I think the last fiscal year we were added over 2,000 titles for younger readers. In addition to what we purchased for the collection, within the last 3 years, we've also added over 5,000 simultaneous use titles. So most of the content in eRead Illinois, the popular content, is going to be available on kind of a one book, one user basis. This is pretty common for library ebook collections, but we were able to add additional titles that are available for simultaneous use, which means that everybody can check out the same book at the same time and be reading it. And a large number of those 5,000 titles are titles for students, for kids. It includes ebooks that are by publishers like Abdo, Capstone. There are some classic titles in there, Time for Kids, etc. We've also increased Spanish ebooks and audiobooks for students. Those simultaneous use titles that I was just talking about half of those titles for kids also are in Spanish, and so half for English, half for Spanish. But we did have a lot of one-on-one meetings with school libraries over the last year just to talk about eRead Illinois. And one of the pieces of feedback that we got from our school library members was that they really, really wanted to see more titles in Spanish, specifically translations of popular titles, so Spanish translations of popular titles. And so we heard the message loud and clear, and we sat down with our vendor, Baker and Taylor, and said, what can we do to fill this need? And so they have been helping us by putting together lists of what is available in Spanish as ebooks or audiobooks. And we have been adding those to the collection over the last several months. So you should see more and more popular Spanish titles for students appearing in the collection. So some basics, some of the basic questions I get for eRead Illinois: how do users access the content? Currently, it is through an app or a website called Access 360. That app and that website is going to be transitioning. Baker and Taylor is replacing it with a new app and new website called Boundless. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Boundless in a minute. But for right now, it's Access 360. That's how you access the collection. A user would sign in with their library card or create a login. The app and the website are compatible with most devices, including Chromebooks. I think the only device that it's not compatible with are the sort of basic Kindles or simple Kindles, and that's again very common for library ebook collections. Most library ebook collections, you can't use a Kindle with those, so that's the only one. You can also integrate the collection directly into Follett Destiny if your school uses Follett Destiny. What that means is that if you subscribe to eRead Illinois and select the integration option, the Access 360 ebooks and audiobooks will show up in your Follett Destiny catalog. Then the users won't know the difference. They won't need to go to the Access 360 website or app. They can just search, browse, check out, and download the eRead Illinois collection ebooks right there in Follett Destiny. And then as far as the circulation of materials go, most of the content, like I said, is one book, one user. There are some multi-user titles. Users can have up to 5 items checked out at one time. The loan period is 14 days, and you can renew the items if no one is waiting for it. If somebody is waiting for it, you'll have to, return it, but then you can put yourself back on the hold list for it. Users can have up to 5 items on hold at one time. And we do try to keep a very low holds ratio on items in this collection. We try to keep it so that no more than 5 people are waiting for a copy of an ebook at a time. And for the K through 12 collection, we try to keep it lower than that. We try to, it's a pain to wait for a book. I get that. And so we try to make it so that these students can get the content that they want as soon as possible. And we do purchase additional copies for the collection on a weekly basis. Let me make sure I mention that. I talked about Boundless. The Access 360 is turning into Boundless. I wanted to spend a few minutes kind of talking about specifically what that means. The Access 360 to Boundless transition will be happening the last week of September. It's going to be a whole new app and a whole new website. The collection is going to stay the same though. So I've got it listed as same functionality. So the users are still going to sign in with their library card or login. That's not going to change. The app and the website are still compatible with most devices, and you can still use the Follett Destiny integration. You can go that route when the transition to Boundless happens. That's not going to change. What they have updated, they've added some new features to the user experience. So one of the biggest things is that the user experience in Boundless is now customizable, which means that users can go in and select things like their interests, and the Boundless website will create suggestions for them based on the things that they are interested in. They've also added this sort of gamification element where a user can say, okay, I want to read so many books in 2023, and set a goal for themselves, and then they will be awarded a badge when they get that goal, and those badges light up when you achieve them. So it's sort of a fun way to mark your reading progress throughout the year. And then the library can also assign reading programs to their users, and put together a collection of books and say, okay, your goal is to read, 3 out of these 10 books about cowboys that we've put in this list or something like that. And when a student does that, they will win another badge. Another badge will show up on their account. So it's kind of a way to keep your students engaged with reading via this new platform, Boundless. It has also been given a design refresh. So I've got a picture of the demo site here. It looks a little bit different than Access 360. It's cleaner, it's easier to use, etc. So we are pretty excited about the Boundless transition. And again, if you are already an eRead member, that's going to be happening the last week of September. If you want more information about it, if you've got additional questions, Baker and Taylor has set up a resource center. I've got the link right there. And on the resource center, you can find frequently asked questions. You can find a checklist of what you need to do to prepare for the switch to Boundless. Marketing resources, instructional guides, etc. Rails is also hosting 2 training sessions, 2 training webinars specifically for school library members of eRead Illinois. So if you're already a member, I highly, highly recommend that you attend the training on either September 6th or September 14th. If you can't attend, you can still sign up for one and you will be sent the recording afterwards. But the specialists from Baker and Taylor are going to be there, and they're going to be able to show you, all the features of Boundless, as well as answer your questions. And they've been very, very responsive for the questions that have come to them already. So.
And I put the links to those into the Zoom, into the chat. So, yep.
Perfect. Thank you. I've got a few more links coming up too. So
I'll be on it.
Posted. All right. So some questions that I get about eRead Illinois and the collection from school libraries specifically. And one of the biggest questions that I get is, can I limit the content that my students can access? And the answer is yes. And I know this is a very important question. It always has been, but especially, nowadays. Yes, you can scope the collection to your specific audience, and it is via the scoping tool that Baker and Taylor has built. They actually built it for eRead when eRead started so that we could have school libraries join on. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to set up some parameters for the collection. You can say that, okay, you can limit of those 66,000 items, you can limit what shows up by the audience or age assigned to the book. You can limit by subject headings that have been assigned to the book. You can limit by author, and you can limit all the way down to the title level. It is a really nimble tool, and so you could do something like say, okay, I want to exclude all of James Patterson's books except for these 2 in the collection that he wrote for kids. So you could go in and say, exclude author James Patterson, but include, title A and title B. And those 2 titles will show up on your Access 360 page, but no other titles by James Patterson will. So it is an incredibly powerful tool that we recommend that all of our school libraries take advantage of. Another question that I get frequently is, can I add more content? And the answer to that is also yes. Baker and Taylor has set up something called the Unbound program. And what that is a separate ordering account that they would set up for your school where you can purchase additional content. And what you purchase is only going to show up on your Access 360 site. And so it won't be available in the larger shared collection. It's just going to be available to your users. And then another thing that I wanted to make sure I mentioned, this is something that we added around the time that we got that grant to add more K-12 materials, is that we added a way for you to easily make an acquisition suggestion. So say that you don't have an Unbound account, or you don't want to set one up, or you see, you know of a title that is not available in the eRead Illinois collection, but you really think it should. We've got a form here for you to make acquisition suggestions to us. I check those forms on a weekly basis, and as long as it is something that we don't already have and is available for us to purchase as an ebook, we'll add it to the collection for you. So I wanted to make sure you were aware of that. Okay, another big question I get, how much does it cost? Like I said, eRead Illinois is opt-in, and there is an annual membership fee that you pay. For school libraries, that fee is tiered based on school building enrollment as reported to ISB. And so I've got the tiers right here on the screen. If your school building has a population of less than 250, your fee is $175 for the year, all the way up to if your school building has a population of 1,500 or over, it's $425 for the year. If you were to join in the middle of the year, we do accept joins at any time. We just prorate your fee for whatever's left of the fiscal year. Our fiscal year ends on June 30th. And then there is an annual renewal that we ask you participate in. So in the springtime, we send you an email and we say, hey, it's time to renew eRead Illinois. Go fill out this form. We send you to a form. You update your contact information, update your population, again, as reported to ISB. And we calculate the fee for you and you just say accept, and then you're enrolled for the next year. I've got the link here where you can learn more about the fee structure. We did update the fee structure this year. So if you watched the program from 3 years ago, it's completely different now. So if you've got questions, I definitely encourage you to go to that website to read more about the fee structure, or shoot me an email or give me a call. Yeah. And then one of the big questions I get when somebody says, okay, that all sounds amazing. How do I sign up for this? It's a relatively straightforward process. There are a few steps involved. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to head over to the eRead Illinois website, eReadIllinois.com/join. You're going to log in with your L2 login. That's one of the steps, and then select the schools that you would like to enroll into eRead Illinois. You're going to have a form that you need to fill out. Again, you're going to have to provide contact information. It's going to automatically calculate your fee for the year. You just review that. If you say, hey, that all looks good, click accept, submit the form to us. When we get that form, we will send you a few documents back. One of those is a participation agreement that we're going to ask that you sign and send back to us. And then the other document is a welcome letter, excuse me, a welcome letter that you're going to get via email. And that will have a link to your Access 360 site setup form. In a few weeks, it's going to be a Boundless site setup form, but it's going to be your site setup form. Is going to be in that welcome letter. When you get that letter, go ahead, click on that link, get started on the setup process for your form. When that's all complete, that goes to Baker and Taylor. They get to work setting up your site. It usually takes them about a week or two to get a new site up and running and connected to the eRead Illinois collection. So in the meantime, we encourage you to go to eReadIllinois.com/support and check out some of the support resources we have, all sorts of instructions, scoping guides, and this school library launch kit, where you've got a checklist of things to do for while you're waiting for your site to get set up. That's all I have for eRead Illinois. I don't know if this is a good place to pause if anybody has questions about eRead Illinois before I move on to inky.org.
Yeah, that'd be a great time to take some questions. If anybody has any, please feel free. You can either raise your hand or you can send your question in the chat. I have been putting all the links. I've been trying to keep up with the links, but I appreciate. And I have a question for you. Okay, so you know the collection better than anybody in the state of Illinois. What is popular? What do you see? What do you see the most copies of? What are you seeing right now?
I mean, it's summertime, so not a lot of students have been checking out. It's not a lot of kids' books that end up in our holds carts every week. But when new ones come out, it's things like Dogman, all Dogman books, why am I blanking on the, like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, like those like style of book are insanely popular, always popular. Stuff like that.
Okay.
Like I said, it's been a minute. It's the last few weeks it's been more adult titles. But
yeah. It'll wrap up again pretty soon.
Yeah, that's one of the things that has been amazing about school library membership in eRead Illinois is that not only are they our largest cohort of members, just in sheer number of buildings, but I believe it's a school library that's our #1 circulating library.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and has been for since before I was at Rails.
Yeah.
So that's been
that's amazing.
It is. And if you look at the way that our circulation trends throughout the year, we always see a spike in September. And so it kind of drops off over the summer, and then it bumps back up again in September. And that's because of all the students coming back to school. So it's schools have been just an invaluable, like just a huge part of eRead.
That's great. That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. I think that I actually think that my own personal reading spikes in September, because I think to myself like, oh, I'm going back to school, but it's just because I've had 20 years of reinforcement. Okay, great. Well, I don't see any questions, so I feel like we should probably move on and do the inking part.
All right. So the next thing I'm going to talk about.
Wait, sorry. As I say that, we've got a question. Thank you, Shannon. She says, my high school is part of IHLS, and we have access to the Cloud Library and use Polaris. My middle school and elementary schools are not able to participate in Cloud Library or Polaris. Can they take part in eRead Illinois?
Yes, that's a fantastic question. And yes, that's something I didn't touch on. So eRead Illinois Access 360, soon to be boundless, that is available to any library in the Rails service area, but also any Heartland library, any IHLS library that is not a part of the Share Catalog Consortium. And so if you're not a part of the Share Catalog Consortium or Polaris and cannot access a cloud library, yes, absolutely. You can join eRead Illinois Access 360, soon to be boundless. And we do. Sorry.
Yeah, Shannon, you came to the right place, and you were asking the right person about this question.
And we do have a number of Heartland libraries that are a part of eRead Illinois that are not part of Share, and it's mostly school libraries. So that's something that we do see, and we welcome you. Please join us. All right, I will talk about inking unless there's another question, Dan.
Nope, I think we're good.
All right, cool. All right, I'm going to switch gears for a few minutes and talk about inky.org and what that is, and the e-content collection that comes along with that. So inky.org is another service that we offer here at Rails. Broadly, when you ask what is inky.org, I would tell you it is a website. If you go there right now, you are going to find resources for writers and readers, and that's a very broad explanation. One of those resources, which I'm going to talk a little bit about at the end, is you have access to ebook creation tools. And those tools are Pressbooks, which is software that will enable you to take things that you've written and convert them into ebooks. And then the Indie Author Project, which is a program that we partner with, where you can take an ebook that you've written and submit it to be included in a library e-content collection. And again, I'm going to touch briefly on those two things kind of at the end. What I really want to focus on, though, is the third part of inky.org, which is that it provides you access to almost 6,000 e-content items via something, the collection, we call it the inky.org library. And it's available via a platform called BiblioBoard. So we've had BiblioBoard for a long time, a number of years. This is sort of a like refocused version of the BiblioBoard collection that we had before. It really focuses on local history and independently published items. And also broadly, it's available to everyone in Illinois, which I will touch a little bit more on later as well. But let's dive a little bit more into the content. And so, like I said, we've really refocused the content that's available via the inky.org library. And so there's sort of three main parts of the collection. We have a collection of Arcadia Publishing and History Press ebooks. These are those books that you see kind of all over the place. They're those local town histories with those like sepia toned covers. We have a collection of those about communities and events and people, specifically from all around Illinois. And so you can go to the inky.org library and find these Arcadia Press books about almost any town in Illinois. There's also a large collection of independently published ebooks, and that's the Indie Illinois collection. These are self-published ebooks that are exclusively by Illinois authors, and it is most of them are fiction, but it's kind of anything you can imagine, any genre out there. You know, there's romance, there's mystery, there's thrillers, there's sci-fi, fantasy. There's also, humor, memoirs, children's books, graphic novels, etc., all available in this Indie Illinois collection. Again, self-published, only by Illinois authors. And then the third part of the collection is something that is called Rails Community Collections, or Illinois Library Community Collections. And so these are local history and community collections that have been curated, uploaded, and maintained by libraries in Illinois. They're really cool. Every library does it a little bit differently. So it could be things like historical photos. It could be like if there's a writers group at the library, they could upload their work to one of these collections. There are a few libraries that have done like community cookbooks. But the far and away most popular thing that has been added to these community collections, and is probably my favorite thing, is that a number of libraries have digitized their old yearbooks. And so you can go look at community yearbooks going back almost 100 years for some of these places. So it's really, really fun to browse. So the focus of the Inky.org library, we really kind of made it about Illinois. So it's either local history about Illinois or it's content created by Illinoisans. I get a question, how do users access the content? Similar to eRead Illinois, in that there's an app or a website that you go to. Same with this one. It's either the BiblioBoard website or the BiblioBoard app. You would just download the app and find the Inky.org library in the app. It's available for iOS and Android. Very easy to use. One of the things that makes the Inky.org library stand out, however, is that there is no library card necessary to access this content. You don't need a library card. You don't need to log in. You can log in if you want, but you don't need to. The only requirement in order to access these materials is that you be inside the state of Illinois. So the entire collection is geolocated to Illinois. If you wanted to access say you found a book that you wanted to read and you're going on vacation, if you wanted to access that book outside of Illinois, you would need to create a login. And once you do that, you download the book to your account and then you can take it wherever you want. You don't need to be in Illinois then. Another really unique thing about this collection is that everything that's available via the Inky.org library is available for simultaneous use. So there are no holds, no waits. Everybody can be looking at the same thing at the same time. So very different to other library e-content collections or even to eRead Illinois. And so I think it's worth highlighting. So this is the part where internet gods willing, I'm gonna jump out of my presentation and take you to the Inky.org library collection. And we're gonna see if this works. And I think I have to get out of my presentation. Sorry, Dan.
No, that's okay. I like it. This is the test drive part of it that I really enjoyed.
Test driving
the tool. Yeah. There it is. Okay, yeah, I got it.
You can see it. Okay, cool. So this is the Inky.org library. Again, it's available via this platform called BiblioBoard. So you'll see it's illinois.biblioboard.com is the link. And when you come onto the homepage here, you're getting kind of a display that gives you kind of a preview of each of the collections I talked about. So you've got the Arcadia books, you've got those independently published ebooks by Illinois authors, and then you have some of those community collections that I mentioned. If you want to see everything that's in the collection though, I always head up to the menu button right here and go over to modules. And that's going to put all three parts of the collection just right there for you. We're going to take a look at these community collections. So like I said, these are things that are created, uploaded, maintained by local libraries. They kind of run the gamut. You've got, one of those yearbook collections I was talking about. You've got community history. You've got a library that it was a Dark and Stormy Night stories, and they put them all together and made them available. You've got community cookbooks. And then once you go into one of these, I'm going to show you Brookfield because this one is really cool. So they did a 125-year celebration where they collected all of these, histories and photos and other items from the town's history, and then, digitized them and made them all available via BiblioBoard. And it includes things like the building of the Brookfield Zoo. If you're from the Chicagoland area, you can see how the zoo was built. And if you wanted to get a closer look at any of these items, just And again, I didn't have to log in. I didn't have to punch in a library card number, nothing. I can just access anything in the collection right away. This might be where the internet gods fail me.
I've been looking through it a little bit, and I found so I live now in Oak Park, and at Oak Park has they have like an oral history project, and they like do interviews with folks who live in the community. It's cool.
It's very cool. Yeah, I think it was too much to ask for it to load the photo of the baby elephant. I'm sorry.
Winky too.
So that is broadly the inky.org. Oh, I did it again. No, don't do that. It's the same for if you wanted to access one of the Indie Illinois books. This is one of those things after working so long on eRead Illinois and, you know, always waiting for the books I want to read and, you know, purchasing holds week after week after week. It's amazing to me that there's a library ebook collection where I don't need to wait for anything. I can just click on a book and it opens up right away. And so, you know, this is that collection I was talking about. These are independently published ebooks by Illinois authors. Any genre you can imagine. Let me see if it'll open a book for me. So let's say I, you know, found this one, say this one looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and read it. All I need to do is click on it and then click read. And again, this is where the internet's it's a hot day. My internet's having a hard time. But normally the book opens up right away and you can start reading it and start clicking through pages. Again, I didn't need to put a login in. I didn't need to enter my library card number. The book is just right here for me to read. And it's the same on the app. It's pretty amazing, I think.
It does look like it looks like a nice ebook. It looks like a nicely formatted ebook version.
Yes, it does. And I'm going to talk about a way that you can do that now.
Good segue.
Yes, that was almost like you set me up for that, Dan.
We've all seen poorly formatted ebooks, right? Yes.
That's true. Yeah. All right. So done the demo part. Let's talk about a couple of more questions I get about the Inky.org library, and then I'll get into the creating. I'm not as slick as we wanted it to be. I'll talk about this first and then about ebook creation. So you know, you're at the library and you're like, okay, that sounds great. How do I get the Inky.org library? How do I sign up for it? And the great news is that you don't need to sign up for it. You already have it, essentially. All you need to do is add the link, illinois.biblioboard.com, to your, you know, list of online resources or to your ebook list of ebook collections. There's no cost, no fees. You don't need to sign up for it. It is free to you, provided by Rails. So it's something that Rails subsidizes. Again, just add the link to your website or list of online resources. That's how you get the Inky.org library. And then I also wanted to mention the Inky.org website itself. So separate from, you know, illinois.biblioboard.com, there is a website, Inky.org, that has information about the Inky.org library on it, but it also has access to two other resources that I wanted to highlight. And I think their application in schools is a little bit limited, or it would be for a really specific audience. But I want to mention them anyways because they're free resources available to you, and they are, I think, really cool. So Inky.org also supports writers with ebook creation, and it provides you free access to software called Pressbooks. So just like the Inky.org library, you can access Pressbooks. You don't need a library card. You just need to be in the state of Illinois, and you do have to create a login in order to use it. But the only, you know, barrier for entry to creating that login is you need an email address. And so once you create your Pressbooks login, you can use Pressbooks to take the things that you've written and to format them and to export them as ebook files. And so you could take like a Word document or something that you did in Google Docs, upload it into Pressbooks, you know, give it chapter headings, you know, make the text look all pretty and professional. You can add a cover, and then you can export it as like an EPUB file or a PDF or a file that you could take and you know, submit to a publisher if you wanted, or to sell on an ebook marketplace, or you know, to send to a friend to edit or something like that. So it's a really, really fantastic tool for that. once you create that ebook file, another thing that you can do via inky.org is you can submit that thing that you've written, that ebook, to be included in the library ebook collection, specifically that Indie Illinois collection that I was showing you. And so you do that through something called the Indie Author Project. On inky.org, you're going to find a submission portal to send your ebook to the Indie Author Project. And what they do is they review all of the self-published ebooks. They review all of the self-published ebooks that they get. They also have editors from Library Journal who review the submissions. And they pick the best of the best self-published ebooks and make them available in a collection called Indie Author Project Select. And this is a collection that libraries all over the country, purchase access to and make available to their patrons. And so if your ebook is accepted, it can be read by people in libraries around the country. And regardless of whether or not your ebook is selected for Indie Author Project Select, it will get included into that Indie Illinois collection. And so take the thing you've written, make it into an ebook via Pressbooks, submit it to the Indie Author Project, and eventually it'll show up in Indie Illinois for anyone in Illinois to read, which I think is pretty cool. And again, it's sort of a limited audience for that. But the ebook creation tool via Pressbooks is something that you can have multiple users working on a project at a time. So it could be something that you could use for like collaborative projects, for writing groups, if students are putting together like books of poetry or essays or doing a group project or something. It does have that functionality as well. And so I always like to mention it to schools. And I'm excited to find a school library that has really, really employed Pressbooks and done something amazing with it. So that's Pressbooks, that's Indie Author Project. That was a very brief rundown of both. But if you have any questions about that or the inky.org library, that's it for me. That's my contact info. Questions right now, I'm here, ask.
So the one thing that I always think about with the Pressbooks side of things is people pay other people to do this all the time on the internet, right? To format an ebook, and this is just like free software that's out there that if you spend a little bit of time figuring it out, you can master it and do it really easily.
Yeah, exactly. Or people pay to use Pressbooks. Like Pressbooks is a known piece of software, and it's something that is freely available to everyone in Illinois. I just don't think that a ton of people know about it. So, but I will say that it is becoming more and more popular. I think the last year was our busiest year for ebooks created.
Great. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you do have questions for Anna, please feel free to submit them. Again, you can you can raise your hand, unmute yourself, or you can put them in the chat. Happy to take them. I'm also really curious about how libraries are using inky.org, and I unfortunately have not come across a great example especially from a school library. I know in the public library, as you mentioned, writers groups, I think one of the goals here is that we're really trying to nurture this idea of creation in libraries, right? And taking the power, not taking the power out of the hands of the publishing companies, but putting the power of the individual to publish their own materials.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that inky.org celebrates, from beginning to end, because you have the ebook creation piece, you have the, submitting it to be included in the library piece, but then you also have the library where people can go and see the things that other people in Illinois have written or created or been a part of. And I think that's really exciting.
Absolutely. Well, I'm not seeing any questions, so I think we will bring it to a close today. Anna, thank you so much for bringing your expertise and all of your amazing resources for libraries out there. If you do have a question for Anna, please feel free to get in touch with her. She is always available. She will be presenting at the ISLE conference, and she'll be available, I think, maybe at the booth at some point to talk a little bit about Access 360 or Boundless. Inky and inky.org and everything else. So Anna, anything else you want to say?
No, thanks for having me, and don't be a stranger. Reach out if you have any questions.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful school year, and yeah, thanks for coming.